It's time. It's time for every one of us. If we get knocked down, we won't just get up. It's time we all rise up. Rise up. When stars step up. Rise up. When a dome stands up. When a city lights up. Rise up. We all rise up together. Touchdown! When we come on the field, we rise up. Rise up. From kickoff to the last play, we rise up. This is our time, Atlanta. We've been knocking on the door. Now it's time to open. Tell me, what do Falcons do? Rise up. What do Falcons do? Falcons rise up. That's what I'm talking about.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of All In with Nate. Man. Where do I start with last night's game? First thing first, shout out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's one of the best Thursday night games I've ever seen. And not just because we won. Like, Baker Mayfield played a great game. The Bucs played a great game all the way around the board. They put up over 300 yards of offense. So, just for us to pull out that kind of game on, especially the night of Matt Ryan's honors, man, crazy game. Let me start there. Number two, the Falcons are in first place. That's exactly where we want to be at once we get through this 3-game stretch when we came back home. We, of course, we all know what happened in the Kansas City game. No comment on that at this point. But you found a way to win both divisional games to get to 3-2. You're in first place. You have 2 wins on them, on New Orleans and Tampa, who both were at a point leading this division. So, great situation for the Atlanta Falcons. Offensively, they finally showed up last night. That was one of the best offensive shows we've seen in years. And I don't know the last time we scored over 34 points, to be honest with you. We scored 34 2 years ago against Carolina, but we have not scored more than 34 points in a game in God knows when. Probably 2020. That's just to be honest with you. But outstanding win for the Falcons last night. Kirk Cousins had an outstanding game. That's what you paid him for. That right there we saw last night, that's what you paid him for. Kirk Cousins set a Falcons record last night with 509 passing yards. That is awesome. Great game. He set the Falcon record, 4 touchdowns. If you have him in fantasy, your game probably already over. Probably a lot of your Falcon players that you have, if you got them in fantasy, the game is already over. But again, just the way that game went last night, the dramatics of it is everything. Number one, also, hate to do this. Got to call out some of the fans that left the stadium early. When Kirk Cousins threw the interception with like a minute and some change left, we still had all 3 timeouts. Why are you leaving a game that early with all 3 timeouts? Anything can happen. Now, there was people that still was down there in the lower level at the bins that didn't leave outside the stadium because, of course, they were hearing the cheering from the people that were still in their seats, so they didn't leave. But for you all that hopped on Omar, that got in your car, man, thinking that the Falcons lost, don't leave no NFL game early. Come on now. You already been there for 3 hours. Might as well stay the rest of the game unless this is essentially over with no timeouts. Don't leave no ball game early. Because guess what? It's a lot of folks that left that game with that minute and change to go and thought it was over. Probably got in their car like, man, we won, but you left the stadium early, man. So don't leave the game. Do not leave an NFL game early unless you surely know the game is over. That's all I'm going to say. Because guess what? All the fun happened after the interception. But shout out to the Falcons. That's a big win. Let me hit some of these comments real quick. Tell said, turn me up. What's up, bro? Katie, I better not hear to catch anybody. Yes, Kirk Cousins had one bad throw, that interception. But at the end of the day, this man threw over 50 passes last night because we were trailing most of the game. Because that's just how great Tampa's offense played last night. Mike Evans, and I'm going to get on the defense in a few. Mike Evans did what Mike Evans does best. He didn't have the crazy stats, but he had 2 touchdowns. Of course, Baker Mayfield played a really good game. They got the run game going well. They really put up a good fight in that first half. They only scored 6 points in the second half, so credit the defense for the adjustments in the second half, but that first half, that offense was locked in. We were down 24-17 at the half. So we're not going to sit here and act like Tampa did not play a good game. They did. They played an outstanding game. Let's see. Bino right to write. Oh, hey, I'll take it. I will take it. Hey, what's up, my brother? What's going on, man? And yes, that game was epic. As you hear, my voice is kind of going in and out. It's better than it usually would be, but I mean, it's still going in and out. Duke Doug checking in saying Bijan sold the bag. Hey, man, Bijan. It was weird last night because Tampa actually did well against the run, but it wasn't a Bijan game because everybody ate last night. That's the beauty of last night's game. Tim said, shout out to Bates with that forced fumble to get us in overtime position. That actually was the drive that oh, by the way, shout out to Jesse Bates. Nothing against Jesse Bates, but unfortunately, that was the drive that he threw the interception on. Cuzzo checking in, he said we won, but that 4th and 15 was a dumb call. That whole drive was a dumb call. I'm gonna be honest with you. We won. Tampa ended up coming out with a terrible follow-up possession after getting a defensive stop. But at the end of the day, the defense got the stop that they needed to get again. But I didn't like the play calling in any sense after the forced fumble. So that was a bad drive just in general. Thankfully, we pulled the game off. But before I hit some more of these comments in the game, I'm about to pull up this quick highlight film that the Falcons did on the YouTube page. Shout out to that YouTube page. If you don't follow them on YouTube, they're Atlanta Falcons, of course. So I'm going to bring the highlights up and talk about it a little bit as we go. Here we go. This is just the start of the game. That opening drive, Kirk Cousins was dialed in. And Kyle Pitts, who I've been going off about for weeks, finally got going in this game. This was a very positive sign to start this game for the Falcons. And then, of course, another opening drive touchdown by this offense on prime time. That was a great drive. Drake London, by the way, him and Kirk Cousins starting to really gain some chemistry. If you notice it, he's really starting to come along in Kirk Cousins. Okay, this is tied at 7. I think I know what drive this is. Darnell Mooney, man. What do we say about Darnell Mooney? Great signing, by the way. This Kirk Cousins. This was a really good throw to Cordero Hodge, who ended up being the hero of the game. That's the beauty of this. Okay, it's 3rd to 14. This is that dot to Darnell Mooney for a touchdown. Listen, Darnell Mooney is becoming worth every penny. I low-key can make the argument that he could push for a wide receiver 1, but I don't want to go that far because Drake London has really come alive in this offense. So that was an outstanding catch in that game for Darnell Mooney in that game. This was one of the few times we actually stopped the run last night. By the way, they did not do a good job. We're going to talk about the defensive line too. I'm going to get on them. We won, but you know me, I'm going to be honest. Kyle Pitts, this was a good reception right here. I want to say this was a drive. Did we miss the field goal? No, we tied it up on this drive. This was one of those drives that stalled out or in the ridiculous amount of penalties we had. But thankfully, even though he missed the earlier field goal, Young Hoku, he hit the field goal. This was tied at 17 play. This was actually a really good stop right here. Great tackle by Clark Phillips, who actually was not that bad last night, but I'm sorry. But Hamilton got cooked last night. He got cooked last night, if we're going to be honest. Oh, this is a punt before the half. I actually did not want them to punt this possession right here. I thought we should have kicked the field goal, but I can understand on the other side. This was actually a really good completion by Drake London. He was under pressure. Kirk Cousins was under pressure. He ended up getting a big completion off of this. This was another drive that ended on some crazy penalties, but we got a field goal to cut into the lead. And I think Tampa answered with a field goal after this, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Here goes Chris Godwin. This was the strip. This also could have changed the game, but Tampa had dodged some bullets early in that game, to be honest with you. And then finally we got a sack on the quarterback. David Onyemata got a sack on Baker Mayfield, they did not have a good night, by the way. David and Grady did not have a good night. Kirk Cousins, this was a big completion to Ray McLeod on third down. By the way, we did a really good job on third and fourth down in this game. And this was a good run. If he could actually stop being off of his feet, this is a good run by Bijan Robinson to get us inside the red zone. And then I think this is the fourth down play. This was a great route by Darnell Mooney. He made a move and got us a touchdown. This was big. This was a big part of the game too. We needed this touchdown at that point in the game. So I'm glad they did not settle for a field goal, which I thought they were going to do. So this tied it up. And this is the drive that I'm talking about, or is it the drive? No, this is the strip sack from Jesse Bates, which was a big play at that point in the game. Offense did absolutely nothing that next drive, but the defense got to stop. Needed that stop, actually. Caden Ellis had the recovery. That was a big recovery by Caden Ellis. And then this right here was a big part. This was right after the interception from Kirk Cousins. That was a great tackle by James Smith-Williams, who's made a key play here and there for this team. This was that drive leading into the field goal to send it to overtime. And again, Kirk was dialed in most of the night. When he had time in that pocket, Kirk was dialed in. And once again, Young Oku ties it up and sends it to overtime. Do y'all see the crowd shot? A lot of folks were there still, but they left because they thought the game was over. So a lot of folks missed out on the dramatics at the end, which is crazy. And here goes a big completion, Drake London. By the way, I hope Drake London is okay. I haven't heard an injury report on him. He got hurt on this play. I think the following play is the Cordero Hodge walk-off, if I'm not mistaken. It is. And listen, I've been a very negative person on Cordero Hodge. That man made a big play last night, probably his best play of his career, to give the Falcons the victory and improve us to 3-2 on the season and in first place. That was a great game, by the way. And I'm going to hit some of these comments real quick. My boy Frank checking in, talking about the Falcons like him. Hey, man, the guys look good last night. Tevin Ratcliffe said the linebacker still not linebacking, out of position. Too much for me. I'm going to be honest. We definitely need to address. I know Rashaan Evans didn't play last night, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he played last night. But Troy Anderson was out. Caden Ellis, we're still down Nate Landman. So two of your starters are down at the linebacker position. And then Caden is trying to be between one minute he's having to try to rush the passes, and one minute trying to play linebacker. That is one of our biggest needs on the team right now, because a lot of people attack the middle of the field because they respect Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons a lot. So middle of the field is one of those issues that really needs to be addressed. And that's one of the key things for that Falcon defense. Another thing is we don't have straight up 3-4 linebackers. This group is a 4-3 defense. They were 4-3 defense under Ryan Nielsen last year. He went on to Jacksonville, of course. So a lot of this team is kind of built like a 4-3 defense, but we're running 3-4. So it's kind of strange. So yeah, they're out of position a lot, and a lot of teams like a Tampa Bay attacks that. And when you're trying to send pressure, like Baker Mayfield got a couple of runs last night, you can expose that. So that's one of those things that they got to really look into. Darius Owens checking in. What's up, bro? He said, if you're paying to recent sports conversations, it's no secret that Mayfield's been the same since the MVP. Mayfield has really been one of the better quarterbacks in the league this year. Him, Sam Darnold, two of the guys that you can off top say have been cooking in the NFL through the first 4 to 5 weeks. And that offense still looked good last night. That's one of those games that they're going to probably be sick about. Like, we should have probably won this game, but that's on them. Duke does that. The Falcons actually look great. That offense looked like the offense put money into this offseason. Kirk Cousins looked like the money that you paid him. Darnell Mooney, what is that to say about Darnell Mooney? Is it, and this is, and I no jab at Justin Fields, does this speak on how bad of the situation in Chicago it was? Or does it speak on that the guy is really this talented and he got into a great situation in Atlanta? Because Darnell Mooney arguably have been wide receiver 1 And this is no jab at Drake London. He's been really good for us this season. However, Darnell Mooney can honestly say that he might have been the most reliable receiver on the team this season. And I expect more from him, as the season goes along. So he's really been good this year. Tevin Rackles to speed on Hodge. Hey, man, man don't like the Falcon receivers like that, but they should. Darius said one more rival game until we did our first rival sweep for a chance at a Super Bowl run. We're going to have to pull a Rico in the NFC South for home field advantage. I want Kirk Cousins to face Minnesota in the NFC title game to take us to New Orleans. This is a playoff team, absolutely. This is definitely a playoff team. Minnesota's off to a hot start, and we actually played them in December, like early December, right before we played the Raiders. So I definitely want to see what this team can do long term, but we saw last night what the potential can be with these Falcons. And Ryan Burns checking in and saying, can they continue to play like that? I think this offense definitely is clicking more and more each week. I think they finally broke out last night against Tampa. Yes, Tampa had a couple of injuries, but even prior to some of those injuries last night, these guys were cooking up and down the field. They finally was getting in the end zone. That looked like the offense that you invested in all season long. Defensively, something got to give with this pass rush. This pass rush is not good right now. Matthew Judon is good, but Grady Jarrett don't get a consistent pressure. David Onyemata don't get consistent pressure. I don't know what's the other spot as far as the defensive end pass rushing. Lorenzo Carter, he ain't got it no more. I don't feel like Arnold Ebiketie has really been on the field much to do a lot as far as this offense per se. This defense per se. So I don't really think that we have been developing our younger players. Like last night, Rukahoro, he finally got a chance to be a part of the active roster last night. Brandon Durla still ain't hit the field. So you got a lot of young guys who are unknown because you're stuck in this commitment to veterans. That has to change, though, if you're the Falcons. Of course, this first 5 weeks was more of our tougher games. However, you got to be able to get some pressure on the quarterback if you plan on capitalizing off of this and becoming a postseason team down the road. Pressure has to be applied. I don't know if they need to trade, make that potential Hassan Reddick trade that you've all heard rumors about. I don't know what they need to do in regards to that. But the issue is on that defensive line. I think the biggest problem is the Falcons don't have a set 3-4 defense. I think that the defensive players that are on the team right now fits more of a 3-4 defense. 4-3 defense. So, again, I think that this may be a 2-season thing. I think there's some potential with the squad. The Falcons desperately need to get another corner because, make no mistake about it, Antonio Hamilton got picked on last night. All 3 touchdowns that Baker Mayfield threw got scored on Antonio Hamilton. We know D'Onofrio went down last night, but however, to me, the Falcons genuinely don't have a legitimate CB2. And that was something that I wanted us to address this offseason and in the draft. AJ Terrell did a really good job on Mike Evans last night. Mike made his plays more so on Antonio Hamilton and D'Onofrio for those guys like that. But AJ actually had a really good game against Mike Evans because Mike Evans usually give him the business, but last night he didn't. So that has to change for this Falcon defense. To me, really, somebody got to step up at that second corner spot because D'Onofrio, Clark Phillips, Antonio Hamilton, those guys are more of your slot and your CB4s and CB5s. They're not really a CB2. So you got to be able to get someone on that other end to defend. But also, I don't want to be too tough on the secondary because still Baker didn't throw for 200 yards. You also have to look at your pass rush. The Buccaneers ran for 160 yards on the ground. And that's something that has to be cleaned up and cleaned up quick because the Falcons' defensive line over the last couple of weeks have tended to allow running backs to kind of have a good game. Carson Steele was good against us with the Chiefs. Alvin Kamara like he was never hurt last week, Sunday against us. So that got to change. Let me see. Frank Green said Kirko. Yes, sir. Kirko chains. Brandon Scadger said the defense never does any stunts or twists. Yes, I agree with that. There's nothing creative on defense right now. Like guys just running to get blocked, and then the quarterback may take off and go get a first down. Like Baker Mayfield had a couple of runs on third down where he stood there and watched, and he just took off running. He had 42 yards rushing. A lot of you may not know that, but he had 42 yards rushing. So they got to change for this defensive line going forward, because you may be done with your really tough part of the schedule, but you still got some good teams coming in here. You got Seattle in 2 weeks. You still got a rematch with the Bucs and the Saints on their turf. You got Dallas in early November. So these are games where it's time these next couple weeks, you got to start cleaning those issues up, because if you plan on making a run later in this year for a postseason, you need to have these things cleaned up. Darius Owens also said the D-line, Grady needs help. Grady hasn't been the best player either, but the defensive line in general got to be better. Because to me, Eddie Goldman has made decent plays. I don't think he's really a legitimate starter. Taquan Graham has made tackles for losses. James Smith-Williams made tackles for losses, but they got him at linebacker. So to me, it's a lot of out-of-position guys on this defense, especially up front. They got to start figuring out who's these guys that's going to be here long-term for the Raheem Morris tenure. Duke Dub said, is it time to move from Kyle Pitts? Going into last night, I would have said yes. After last night, it's tricky, because that's the best Kyle Pitts have played since Matt Ryan was quarterback, because he finally seemed to get going in that offensive scheme last night. If that's the Kyle Pitts that I can see for 80% of the season coming up, this is a guy I bring back. I don't break this core up if that's the the Kyle Pitts that I'm going to see going forward. But I don't know that. And that's the tricky thing about Kyle Pitts. We got a favorable matchup next week against Carolina. I think Shaq Thompson is out, and that's their key linebacker. So you get favorable matchups coming up over the next couple of weeks to where you should be eating. We're going to see if he's going to do it. But again, if I'm the Falcons, this is the time to start seeing, can he click in that scheme? But it does look good. The potential's there. So we'll see. Tevin Ratcliffe said, I really want Zach Harrison to get more burn at the other DN spot. You're right. Some got to check. Yeah. I think that they need to give these young guys, because to me, Zach Harrison had a really good rookie year. But again, you shy away from playing your rookies. And Buchetti, to me, need to be out there more with Judon. He needs to get more burn with Judon. Lorenzo Carter's not a consistent pass rusher to keep putting him on the field. Or stop coming out there with freaking Eddie Goldman, Onyemata, and Grady Jarrett, who cannot get consistent pressure on the quarterback. They're defensive tackles in a legitimate scheme, not in a 3-4 defense. You need speed on those edges. It may be a clogger up that middle, like a Vita Vale on the opposite side, who, by the way, had a really good game against the Falcon defensive line last night. Logan Hall and those guys. So we'll show that in the stat line. But it got to change. So that's something that you want to clean up going forward. But I will say this. Defensively, you did enough to make your stops in the second half. You only gave up 6 points. So that's a credit to the defense for the adjustment in the second half. Offensively, though, if that's what we're going to be a tough out in the NFC. Straight up. We're going to be a tough out in the NFC, because Tampa gave probably their A game on offense yesterday, and we still found a way to move the ball. And 500 yards from Kirk Cousins, let that sink in. 509 yards of offense. He broke Matt Ryan's record. The record was against the Panthers in 2016, that game that Julio had 300 yards. That was that game. But it wasn't just one person going off last night in this passing attack. And that's the beauty of what you saw last night. That was their best game. And if that's the Kirk Cousins that you're going to give me the rest of the season, this Falcon offense is going to be a problem going forward. So Great win for the Falcons. Let me hit the stats real quick because I always like to see the stats to tell the game. So let's pull that up real quick. Okay, let's get this up. Okay, so first stat. Baker Mayfield, 19-24, buck 80, 3 touchdowns, only got sacked one time. Quarterback rating of 137.5. Baker Mayfield had a really good game last night. Don't let those stats fool you. We held them. Yes, the passing yards, they're not going to really throw crazy on the Falcons. But that passing yards, that's outstanding. That's a great stat line for Baker Mayfield. It's been really good. But the guy tonight, Kirk Cousins, 42 of 58, 509, 4 touchdowns. He got sacked 4 times. The offensive line at tackle, really, the tackles and centers did not have a good game. That's another issue that I want to somewhat address. The penalties. I cannot wait to look and see how many penalties we got once I go through these stats. But those penalties got to change, man. It got to change. We get way too many flags. Way too many flags. It's ridiculous. They got to change because you got to be disciplined against better football teams. Again, I'm going to say this again. You got to be better disciplined against better football teams. That's going to come back and hunt you down the road if you don't tighten up long-term later in the season. That's something that got to be fixed. But great game from Kirk Cousins. He threw a lot because of the fact that we were trailing. Also, going on to the rushing totals for both teams. Rachaad White had 10 carries for 72 yards. That is 7 yards a pop. He had that 56-yard run that really could have been housed, but thankfully they made the tackle to stop that play from really turning into a touchdown. You can't allow a player to get off like that. Yes, a 56-yard run outside they had 16 yards of offense. But then Bucky Irvin, 9 for 44. He also had a decent game. So they were actually averaging really well on the ground. That defensive line got to clean that up going forward. You cannot let these, and Tampa's not even a team that really run the ball well. But it looked good last night for them. On our side, Bijan, 12 of 61 for 5.1 yards. Tyler Algier, 6 of 12 for 2. And that's probably his worst game of the season. Nelson said, I'm watching this stream like I watch sports. Said, hey, man, I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. Let me throw this out here about Zach Robinson. Last night was about the pass attack. I agree 100%. You got to know how to use Tyler Algier. He's a workhorse. There were plays where Bijan was making a good run here. Good run there. Good run there. Good run there. Good run there. They come right back and run the same play to Tyler Algier. That's something that got to be addressed as we go forward in the season. Tyler Algier needs set plays for him. Bijan Robinson needs set plays for him. You got to know how to get the best out of both of your running backs. They're kind of trying to figure this thing out, but again, you got 2 of the better running backs in football on the same team at the same time in their prime. Figure a way out to get these guys going, because if that passing attack can give us what they gave us last night, you're gonna be a hard team to stop down the road offensively. They got to be changed. Let me go and scroll down to the receiving total. Let me pull that up. Chris Godwin led the Bucs in receiving, 5 of 64, no touchdowns. Mike Evans, 5 of 62, 2 touchdowns. The undisputed Falcon killer. I'm just gonna go ahead and call it for what it is. That man give us problems every time we play him. I cannot stand. I love Mike Evans. He's one of my favorite wide receivers, but I hate it when we play him because he tends to have a good game. K. Dollar only had 3 for 44. Bucky Irvin had 2 receptions. Sterling Shepard caught that touchdown on third down. And then Rachaad White, he didn't do anything on the receiving totals. So not a lot to really talk about on them. For the Falcons, Drake London, 12 for a $154 in a touchdown. All of you who was wondering, is Drake London really that guy? Drake London is a route-standing wide receiver. But this is what happens when you go invest in a quarterback that knows how to get in a groove with his guys. Kirk Cousins tend to get in a groove with his receivers. No, Drake London isn't your top receiver in the National Football League. Kirk Cousins had the benefit of playing with a Justin Jefferson, but he also is the type of quarterback, he gets guys going. You saw the Jordan Addison get going in his offense last year. This is something that's turning into the Darnell Mooney situation. But Drake London is your wide receiver one. He only had one incompletion. Let that sink in. One incompletion, 12 for $154. That to me is showing the potential of how great he can be as a wide receiver. And by the way, let's not act like he has not had a good year so far. Statistically, it may not show it, but he had a good game last week against the Saints. He was good enough against the Saints. He had 12 targets last week. Darnell Mooney, 9 for $105 and 2 touchdowns. This is starting to become the fan favorite at wide receiver. And this was a guy who I actually thought, I liked Mooney. Thought they kind of overpaid him a little bit at first, but he's making his money. I'm not going to be the guy to sit here and be on he's making a little too much. No, this dude is playing. Shout out to him. And again, he's the change of pace wide receiver that we've been missing on this team since Calvin Ridley went through his situation 3 years ago. Needed that change of pace. So we got something cooking with wide receiver 1 and 2. Kyle Pitts, 7 of 88, no touchdowns, but 8 targets. If this is the Kyle Pitts you're going to give me all season long, he'll be back as a Falcon in 2025. That's what you need consistently from Kirk Cousins to Kyle Pitts. But again, this goes back to what we've been saying about Kirk Cousins' addition in Atlanta. He's going to get his receivers and tight ends the ball. TJ Hawkinson balled under Kirk Cousins. He's going to get the ball to his guys. So that's what we're here to talk about. Cordero Hodge. Sir, I apologize for being so rude to you all these years. I have been the most rudest fan when it comes to Cordero Hodge. I was just at the last home game saying, why is he here? Well, guess what? He shut me up. That man showed me why he was here last night. Shout out to him. He only had 2 catches for 67 yards, but has one of the biggest plays of the season for the Falcons. And it was cool to see the excitement that he had making that big play. And let me go ahead and throw this out here real quick while we on the topic. The man had an emotional game-winning touchdown. You non-Falcon fans that's tuned in, that's going to tune in, they may tune in later. Will you shut up about this man having an emotional moment, talking about this is your Falcons Super Bowl win? Oh, my God. Y'all act like y'all won a Super Bowl. Shut up, man. It's week 5. This Falcon team ain't been over 500 in the first 5 weeks since 2017. It's been 7 years since this Atlanta Falcon Ball Club been over 500 this early. Well, they were over 500 last year this time. My bad. They were 3-2 against the Texans. But these guys are in first place with 2 divisional wins. Well, they had a tough first 5 weeks. Let the fans be happy about their team. If your team ain't hitting on nothing, go worry and go cry about what your team got going on. Stop worrying about what the Atlanta Falcons are cooking up. Just beat us when you see us. That's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, moving on, Ray McCloud, 6 of 66. Ray McCloud, he may not be scoring the touchdowns. So he may not be scoring the touchdowns on the field, but Ray is really cooking in this offense. I love what he's doing on this team. Love it. So that man, I love what our receivers bring to the table. And Algier and Bijan had 3 of 16, 3 of 13. So not that much really production as far as the production on their side. So Tevin said London 34 points. These are some of the fantasy numbers. Oh, yeah, man, I lost that fantasy game to you. Good game. About time. Good game. Anyways, let me pull this up. Scrolling through sports sources, rumors. Saints are working with Voodoo per the usual, just a kid and rival trash talk. But they're working to get the Adams reunited with. That would be an interesting fit for the new Saints, to be honest with you, because that offense is actually pretty good. So he could actually add to that solid wide receiving core. But moving along to, we had a couple fumbles last night. Bucky Irvin had a fumble. Chris Godwin had a fumble, but they recovered. I think both. Well, Bucky lost his fumble. Ray had a fumble, but it didn't get lost. So that was key. Okay, on the defensive side of things, Jesse Bates, 8 tackles, 3 solos. K-Dell's had 7. Bertrand had 5 in his first game as a Falcon, as a starter. Grady had 5. James Smith-Williams had 2 on a tackle for a loss. I like James Smith-Williams, and I actually wish he would get more looks as a defensive tackle, more so than a linebacker. I kind of wish they would let him play up front because I think he actually makes plays. The rookie, Ruka Horo, 3 total tackles, 1 solo tackle. Yamada got a sack last night and 2 tackles for a loss. Got a quarterback hit. Antonio Hamilton. Big dog. This is your first game. You get a lot of reps. I need you to get in that lab and go watch how you got cooked and be better. Because we can't have this going on all season long. We can't have this all season. I promise you that. I'm rooting for you, sir. But you can't do this all season long. I need you tighten up. Please tighten up. Because that ain't it. And I'm here to tell you that ain't it. But again, looking at the rest of the tackles, AJ Terrell had 4. Justin Simmons had 3. D. Offer had 3 before he got hurt. Again, kind of balanced night. Shout out to the rookie from Georgia in Tampa. Tyke Smith had 11 tackles for the Buccaneers. Zion McCullum had 10. Jamel Dean got 9. KJ Britt had 9. Levante Davis is all over the field as normal. 8 tackles, 6 for a loss. I think he had a pick, by the way, too. Levante Davis still that dude. I've always been a fan of Levante Davis. Christian Isaiah stepped up for the Bucs in the absence of Antoine Winfield. He had 7 tackles. Had a tackle for a loss. Pass deflection. Let's see. Logan Hall. By the way, man, shout out to Logan Hall for the Buccaneer defense. They was already down Kalijah Cansey. He had a good game for the Bucs last night. He had 2 sacks and 2 tackles for a loss. Logan Hall actually got 5 quarterback hits. He got a lot of pressure last night, so he might be cooking up something for the Buccaneers. Vita Vea does what Vita Vea does best. I wish he was on Falcons, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's the type of defensive tackle that we need. But again, it's kind of a balanced amount of tackles on both sides. Falcons crowd was 70,016, as you see on the side. The fans did show up a little late. I ain't gonna lie, they showed up a little late. But of course, it's Atlanta on a Thursday night. Traffic is always crazy, so you know how that goes. But they came. They came and showed up and showed out. Really been a good homestand as far as the Falcon fans. Outside of that it's out of the Steelers debacle week 1. It's been a really good Falcon crowd all season long. Levante David had an interception, as I mentioned. Sean Tucker, the running back out of Syracuse, almost housed the kick return in the game last night. Kicking wise, Chase McLaughlin, 3 of 3. That man was money last night. My boy Young Ho missed the field goal last night. He had 1 block. But of course, when it mattered the most, that's when he came through. Bradley Pena had 1 punt. Trenton Gill had 2 punts. Not a lot of punting. These 2 teams put up points last night. Let's see. Tevin said Love Rary is a blessing in disguise that Rondale Moore went down. He got the opportunity. Absolutely, because he probably wouldn't have got the opportunity that he really came on to get if that happens. Let's go to the team stats. Let's do a quick rundown. The Falcons had more first downs in as far as both sides, more passing first downs. They had 2 first downs on penalties. They were better on third down yesterday. 6 of 14. That's way better than they've been all season long. I'll take that all day long from the Falcons. Still the Bucs, 6 of 11 on third down. Again, that's something that got to be cleaned up. The Falcons give up a lot of third downs in ball games. They got to clean that up. It got to be cleaned up. The yardage, Falcons had 550 of total yards, ran 30 more plays than the Buccaneers. The same amount of total drives. The Bucs had 173. The Falcons had 477. That's just the net from the sacks. That's why it's not showing his whole 509. The Bucs ran more rushing yards than the Falcons. by a whopping like 160-73, which is good. The Falcons had 8 penalties. 8. Let me be brutally honest with y'all. There got to be some discipline with this team. That's one issue I really have with this Falcons ball club. There's not a lot of discipline up front. We get a lot of holding penalties at unnecessary times, unnecessary pass interference, ineligible receiver, false starts. Those things got to be cleaned up. They got to get cleaned up as the season goes along. You don't want to lose games because of those mistakes. You don't want that to happen. Let's see. The Falcons actually won time possession for the first time this season. They had the ball for 33 minutes, vice versa to the 27-38 by the Buccaneers. So outstanding. So a lot of improvement, but still ways to go. Falcons are wanted, but hey, still got things to work on. Tevin Ratcliffe, I want to hit this question. He says, how do you feel about McGrary? His knee injury, he can't move, looks bad. I thought McGrary didn't look the best last night. I think Logan Hall really went to work on him and had those. Him and Vita Vea really had a field day on that right side. And I think the Falcons have a tackle issue that's going to have to be addressed this offseason. Jake Matthews is in the over-the-hill state for this Falcon offensive line. Caleb, I've never been the highest fan of, and then he's hurt right now. That's not the best thing. I kind of like Storm Norton a lot better in pass blocking situations for the Falcons. I think that would be the better option for them going forward. And what's up, Aaron? The time possession was 33-27. So the Falcons had a little bit better of a time of possession this game. But those are the stats. What my closing thoughts is on this Falcon win. Number one, you got to win. There are things that need to be cleaned up. You're 3-2. Good win for the Falcons. But I will say this. The Falcons did exactly what we wanted them to do in the first 5 weeks. And this is going back. You could have won the Chiefs game. The Pittsburgh game, the offense just wasn't clicking this show. Hold on, let me see. What's up, Cuzzo? But they weren't showing, it didn't show up the first few weeks. But you're 3-2 through the first 5. We all came in and said that you had to be at worst 2-3 through the first 5 for the back half of your schedule to open up to you a lot more. The fact that you're 3-2, you won your divisional games are key going forward. Now you need to build off of that. You need to go to Carolina and make it a sweep as of now. So you got to take advantage of the opportunity you have because you're 3-2. And you got a lot of road games getting ready to come up because, believe it or not, fans, and folks that are tuned in, this is the Falcons' 4th home game in the first 5 weeks. That's a lot of home games. So you're 2-2 in your home games. You're about to go on your 2nd road game next week against the Panthers. Then you're back at home on the 20th against the Seahawks. Then you got a 3-game road stretch after that. So the Falcons gotta win your games because you know you're gonna get Tampa's best shot a month from 3 weeks from now. You're gonna get New Orleans' best shot a month from now. So you gotta take advantage of the wins you gotta take advantage of the schedule. Get your wins. Don't lose to a Carolina. No disrespect to the Panther fans. You gotta win them games that you're supposed to win. Seattle's gonna be a little tough because they've actually been pretty good this year. But again, you gotta win the games that you are favored to be in because you will see the Saints again. You will see the Bucks again. You're gonna see the Cowboys in a month from now. So get your wins where you can get them right now. But 3-2 is a good spot to be in. And yeah, we had the same record as of last year, but the offenses are night and day. I will say that the offenses are night and day for those two. And they got it's a little more favorable coming up, but we'll see what happens. But again, you take 3-2 through the first 5 weeks. That's where you want to be at. And Tyrion, what's going on, bro? Said the best game of the year. Yes, it was. That may go down as the number 1 game of the year, or at least a top 10 game, because it's a long season ahead for both sides. And as far as the whole league, because who knows? I mean, we'll see what happens the rest of the season, but this is going to be in the top 10, absolutely for certain. But again, Glad the Falcons got the win. They're in first place. You got 10 days to rest. Well, you got a 10-day layover before you play Carolina on October the 13th. So, again, good win for the Atlanta Falcons. Hey, Falcon fans, enjoy this one. Enjoy this. Don't let nobody tell you not to enjoy this game. Enjoy this. You get to kick back and watch some football on Sunday knowing that we already got our win. That's the beauty of it. But then, lock back in next week. You don't want to just let this be the highlight of the season because we got a long way to go for what our goal is. The goal is to win this division. The goal is to get back in the playoffs for the first time since 2017. The goal is to have a winning record for the first time since 2017. So it's a long way to go. But definitely got to see what happens going forward. But you got to feel good about where the Falcons are through the first 5 weeks. And last comment, Aaron said the wide receiver coach for the Falcons. Oh, he's a heat. I don't know what he ain't got out of these boys, but these guys been cooking with him. But again, good win. Checking out of here. Thank you all for tuning in. Y'all gave me some great comments too, by the way. So until next time, this has been an episode of All In with Nate. The Falcons win in dramatic fashion. Like my boy Kirk Cousins said, you like that? That's what he said. Oh, by the way, one thing before I get over here. Did y'all see Kirk Cousins swag surfing? It can be cleaned up, but hey, man, I like it. I like what I see. He getting accustomed to the Atlanta culture. But until next time, episode of All In with Nate. Checking out. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy some good college football tomorrow. And enjoy some good NFL football that is a stress-free Falcon weekend. So, check it out. Enjoy your Friday. Rise up.
Can you feel it? It's time. It's time for every one of us. If we get knocked down,